Hello and welcome to LearnDoBecome Radio. I'm April Perry, and here at LearnDoBecome, we help people who are overwhelmed by the details of life to create simple systems so they can do what matters most. And today's episode is about what it looks like when we actually design our lives. I hope this will bring you some encouragement today, and that even if you're going through some difficult times, you'll be able to acknowledge that there are some things that are in each one of our control that we can actually do. So, okay, let's dive in. At the top of our LearnDoBecome website, you'll see the phrase, architect a life of excellence. This means a lot to me and Eric. But if you had spoken with me early in my adulthood, and especially when I first became a mother, and you told me I could architect my life instead of just living in overwhelm, I would have had a few words for you because I was doing my absolute best. I was barely sleeping. I was trying to love our children and keep the house clean and build a strong marriage and work on the computer at night before collapsing into bed. Do you really think that I needed life architecture? But yes, I actually did. Now, I understand if the concept of life architecture or life design feels too theoretical right now, especially if you are in an intense phase of life. But please hear me out. Architecting a life of excellence isn't just a catchphrase here. We believe it's a life-changing concept that can help each one of us to breathe and create a life where we wake up excited and go to bed content. Now, of course, there are days that feel really difficult. Eric and I are human, just like you are, and there are some seasons of life that are particularly heavy. But the things I'm sharing today are the exact things that help me out of those low moments, and I'm hoping that these specific examples will just give you a lift today. I recently read a book called Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara, and you may have heard one of his many online interviews. The book is all about his experience running the top restaurant in the world. They got like number one on this rating list. I don't even know how they work it, but he was number one. And although my life and goals are very different from his, the concepts in the book were incredibly insightful. I'll just give you an example. So when 2008 hit and the economy was struggling, fine dining became an expense that most people cut out of their budgets. But he didn't want to lay off his employees, and he wanted his restaurant, 11 Madison Park in New York City, to survive. So first, they played defense by cutting any costs that wouldn't hurt the customer experience. For example, the chef started wearing these reusable cloth caps instead of the tall disposable paper ones. And they didn't replace a specific tablecloth that was near the serving area during the shift, etc. They just had some things that they would do to keep the restaurant like looking perfect. So they kind of, edited some of those. But then they went on the offense. And what I loved about this is in the book, he said that was the fun part. Because they asked themselves, like, what could we create in order to stay in business given the economic conditions? So a couple examples. Lunches there had typically been $35 or more. So they came up with a $29 two-course option that people loved. So they started bringing in the lunch crowd again. And then for the lunches, desserts often took too long to wait for and eat if they just had an hour off of, their job. So they made this dessert cart that had instantly ready options that people could just purchase to go. So I love that they didn't just sit and hold their breaths or give in to the mounting pressure. They got creative and they took action. They wisely played defense, but they put their best energy into playing offense. And that's a lesson for life. That's a lesson for my life right now. Sometimes there are so many areas where I feel like I could literally just live my life on default or play defense all day long or just sit and take problem after problem after problem that comes my way. But when I can do the things I'm going to talk about in today's episode and then go on the offense and get creative, it makes such a difference. And really, the process is simpler than it sounds. It's just the kind of thing that we talk about all the time here at LearnDoBecome. So if I were to put it into a 3-step process, it would look something like this. Step 1, Identify what we actually want. What are the pain points we need to solve? What are the experiences we want to create? Step number 2, creatively explore options. This is the offense. And I love the word creatively because often it's not something that's right in front of us and it's not what everyone else is doing. But there are ways to take steps forward that really are creative and fun. And that's where I feel like my higher power comes in. Inspiration. Sometimes you can go on AI and get some ideas, but when it actually comes to creating solutions tailored to your specific situation, the recommendation I have is to consult with your higher power, because that's where the most beautiful answers for me have come throughout my life. And then step 3, once you've identified what you want and you creatively explored the options, then take action. And sometimes it takes longer than we'd like, but we're not just going for the result, because the process is the architecting. That process, that's life architecture. I don't care if at the end of the day you have a super clean house and a really full bank account and your name's on a bunch of statues or something like that. I want each one of us to wake up excited and go to bed content. Because if we can do that today, we can do that tomorrow, and we can do that throughout our entire life. And then when we look back, we're going to see that our life truly was happy. Okay. All right, moving on. So let's talk about some of the practical examples. I just want you to be able to hear some of these examples from my own life and then be able to consider your life right now. What do you need? What do you want that you don't have right now? Or what situation could you create? And how could you take action? Even just these little small steps. We've been talking about micro efforts in our Arise community lately. What are these micro efforts that you could take? So the first area that I'm going to talk about is creating practical solutions for our physical spaces. A lot of you came to Learn, Do, Become to get organized. We have a lot of before and after pictures, which I love. I never get tired of those because they're so fun. But sometimes we do just need some solutions for our physical spaces so they're not disorganized, cluttered, difficult to navigate, etc. And these could include big things like reorganizing the whole house, including all the closets and moving all the furniture. Or they may include simple things. For example, Eric added a little bungee cord to the top of our trash bin in the garage so we can easily open it from the staircase. And not that we're trying to be lazy, but especially as we get older, running up and down the stairs to put one little trash bag away, I don't know, we could trip. It's just easier, it's faster, reduces the friction. Anyway, so simple. So this little bungee cord, I love it. Every time I get a little top of the stairs and I pull the bungee cord and I drop the trash in, it's just was it $2? But it made it so it just feels easier to take out the trash. Or we had a little laundry area in our former home. And it was this little tiny closet kind of thing as you came in from the garage. And the washer was on one side and the dryer was on the other. And we had a little tension rod. When we moved in, the tension rod was hanging right above the washer. So after clothes would come out of the dryer, if they needed to hang right away, I'd put them on hangers and I'd put them on that tension rod. But then they were hanging right over the washer, which was a top-loading washer. So if we didn't move the shirts or pants or whatever and put them up in our closets, then anytime I'd open the washing machine, things would fall off. Anyway, it was just kind of a cluttered mess. So one day Eric's like, hey, what if I move this tension bar over here on top of the dryer, which is a front load machine, and then they can just sit there and we don't have to deal with the opening of the washing machine. And it was so funny. And I remember thinking he was a genius because I hadn't even thought of that. But just this one little thing, moving the tension rod, it just reduced the friction. And we even added a very narrow laundry hamper that fit behind the kids' bathroom door, because that's where our children threw their clothes every night when they took showers. We had 4 little children in that house. And anyway, we had laundry hampers in their bedrooms, but that's not where they took their clothes off. And then they didn't want to move the clothes. Anyway, put the little hamper behind the doorway or behind the door. And anyway, it solved the problem. And recently I moved a little section of our upstairs couch downstairs by our fireplace, because even though it doesn't look beautiful, it's become one of my favorite spaces to work. we didn't have a couch down there, and now we do. So if you want more on organizing like this and organizing from the inside out, that's the name of Julie Morgenstern's book. That is great. So you can check that out, and I'll add a link to our show notes as well. But removing everyday friction and making slight improvements in our physical spaces, it might seem not that important. Okay, April, you have a bungee cord that you added to the trash can, or you moved a couch. Whoopee, right? But the thing is, these little things in our physical spaces create a foundation for the things that truly are important. So don't underestimate that power. Okay, next section is on protecting our time and our mental space. Most of us live in an interruption-rich environment, but there are things that we can do to allow more time for more calm or more connective relationships, or even more focused work. So one quick example is putting our phones on sleep mode or do not disturb more often, and then not looking at them, even for 30 or 60 minutes. I often find when I work from home, I have a harder time focusing because maybe the dog needs to be let out, or someone drops by, or Eric and I get chatting, which I do love, but sometimes we need boundaries. And so if I have deep work to do, getting out of the house is often my best bet. So I've been scheduling a few hours here and there at our local public library. It's been amazing. We also put a little sticky note on the door and said, "We're working from home. Please don't knock or ring. Send us a text." And that's helped so much because we used to have a lot of salespeople who would come to the door constantly, even though we have a little no soliciting sign. And now that we have this little note there, if people have our cell numbers, they can text us. And otherwise, it's just reduced a lot of door knocking. So anyway, that's been helpful. When our children were little, I established 2 quiet times each day where the children would either play with toys independently, or they would nap while I did my work, or read a book, or I took a nap as well. So I wrote a post called Mommy's Quiet Time 101. I'll link that on the show notes as well. But it gave us all some much needed downtime. And I was talking with a friend about this the other day, and a second friend who was there in the circle said, "Wait, quiet time? What's quiet time?" And I was like, okay, I gotta tell you, changed my life, because I felt like I could never turn off my brain from being a mother and trying to protect my children and preventing chaos all day. But those quiet times that we had, they just became really natural and rejuvenating. Next section is prioritizing relationships. When I live life on default, people seem to get pushed to the side. It takes effort to make time for the ones that we love. One example is weekly date nights that have been a gift for our marriage for the past 28 years. And I found if we can schedule at least one other time that's out in nature each week, it just gives us both an energy boost. We love being in the mountains, or there's a nearby canyon. We just found this new hike recently. We got a little bike rack for the back of the van so that we can go biking. Just getting out in nature, sometimes it does take effort. We have to put it on the calendar, talk about it. This morning on our walk, I said, "Okay, Eric, you want to go biking tonight?" And so now it's scheduled. It's on the calendar. But just having some of these things that you actually take initiative to create, it's going to help you have time to actually connect with your spouse or your loved ones. Another thing we've done is Sunday dinners, these cooking nights with the young adults, and I've loved it. So every Friday, I have a little reminder that pops up on Asana to plan the meal for that Sunday. And then I cook one in advance so everybody can come and eat. And then I have one additional meal that we make together, and then they bring back their containers every Sunday and we refill their containers. So they don't mind eating the same thing for several days in a row. So we just fill up their containers. We have kind of an eating time and a cooking time, and it helps them with their grocery budget, and it creates this awesome time for us just to be together and connect. Our youngest sleeps over on Sunday nights, and then he and Eric stay up late talking about investing and finances and entrepreneurship and things. I usually go to bed by 10 or 10:30, but it's so sweet to see them just chatting away, having fun, connecting. Every few years, my sister coordinates a few hotel rooms in Palm Desert for all the girls in the family to gather for a weekend. And not everyone is always able to go, but when we can, we love that chance to talk or sit by the pool or go out to eat. or just have time together, because we're all kind of scattered around and doing our own lives. And it's not always easy to, get all together. One of the Saturday mornings we were gathered there, we all walked to a nearby hotel that our late father's architectural firm designed. And it's the Palm Desert Marriott Hotel. And so we walked in, and there's this beautiful atrium, and a boat can come in and out. They have little boats that will come into the lobby area, like the central area of the hotel or atrium. And our dad was so excited about that feature, I remember, when they designed it. So I just remember that day when we went to visit, and we're all standing inside the structure that our dad had designed, or one of the designers, and it was just the sweetest thing. And that memory didn't just create itself. It was something that my sister coordinated. We all made the effort, but that's part of life architecture. Eric and I also have a little couples date night list. So during our weekly planning session, we look at that, and then we reach out to friends in the area to see if they could join us for a meal or an activity or something. Because what used to happen is we would see friends and we'd say something like, oh, we should get together sometime. And then we never do. So now we write their names down on a list, and then we text or call and try to set something up. So that's been fun too. And again, these things aren't always easy, but they are worth it. There's a book called Flourish by Martin Seligman. And in that book, he said if he could explain positive psychology in two other words other than positive psychology, he would use the words other people. And hopefully you've noticed that as well. When you get together with other people and you enjoy a meal or conversations, just time together to talk, it helps you to be able to get perspective on your life and to feel supported and to be able to face the things that you're, needing to take care of with a little more energy and optimism. All right, final section for today's podcast is adjusting professional responsibilities. So Eric and I recently recorded a podcast about our story and the origin of LearnDoBecome. If you go to LearnDoBecome.com, at the very top, you'll see our story in the menu, and you can read it and hear the podcast there. Now, that story and our experience we shared was definitely an example of life architecture, because we really wanted to work together from home. I didn't want Eric sitting on the road in traffic for hours and hours a day. He didn't want to sit in traffic for hours a day. He wanted to be at home and with me, and we wanted to raise our children together. And as we were going through that process, it wasn't really the easiest thing. Our first business attempt did not work out at all, and it was a bit of a painful process to get here. But we kept architecting because it really mattered to us. Even recently, the architecting hasn't stopped. We made the decision a couple of years ago to structure our work so it's mostly asynchronous. In the early days of Learn, Do, Become, we sometimes went live on video 6 days a week, even on our anniversary, or if we were traveling, or when I had a slight concussion, and that's a story for another day. But financially, we felt that we needed to push it at the beginning, and then that was the only way that we knew to do it. But because we serve a global community and we want each becomer to have flexibility, just like we want our team to have flexibility and we want to have flexibility, we've now created a structure that works better for everyone. So our webinar is on demand. You can watch it right now at LearnDoBecome.com/step. Our step coaching serves a percentage of people live and then provides recordings to those who can't make it. And we've created a powerful text and email coaching process. Our Arise community gathers monthly and is super engaging with the people who are on the call. But then we provide timestamps and the chat log so people can easily catch it later. Even recording this podcast is something I love because I can sit down when I feel ready. I don't need to sit down because I have to hurry and crank out a podcast. I can thoughtfully create my thoughts. Or how's that sound? Thoughtfully create my thoughts. I can prepare what I want to say. I can record when I have good energy, and you can listen when you feel like it, right? We've also made some very difficult professional adjustments over the years, some of which were incredibly stressful to me and resulted in some health problems. But if we hadn't made those adjustments, we wouldn't be in our current spot. where we're truly doing work we love in a way that genuinely works for us and our team. So some closing thoughts. I know that playing offense in our lives isn't easy. It requires energy, creativity, and bravery. And sometimes things don't work out on the first try. But if we don't architect our own lives, others will architect them for us. And we've all been there, right? In order for change to actually happen, we need to be hungry for it. We need to decide that the old way of doing things, just going with the flow or staying in unhealthy situations in order to keep the peace, just isn't worth it. Now, I know that you are likely carrying some very heavy demands right now. We are too, and ours might not be as heavy as yours, so I hope that what I'm sharing today can give you a lift. And I know we can't always publicly talk about the challenges we're facing, but I firmly believe that this concept of life architecture isn't just for the peaceful, easy times. It's especially important when we're in the middle of our hardest struggles. And I know that's when it's hardest to even remember these things. But I encourage you to try this process with a few of your biggest pain points. You'll see that your efforts do bring results, and you'll be excited about what you can architect next. So I'm sending lots of love and always cheering you on. Before I close up, I want to share a couple of testimonials. I'm trying to put them into the podcast and on social media, and I have literally hundreds that we've collected that I haven't shared yet. So I'm way behind, and some of these I've had for like a couple of years sitting in my testimonials folder, but here we go. Okay, so this first one, and I'm going to put them on the show notes page if you want to go and actually see the pictures. You're going to want to see the pictures. But the first one is from Tammy, and she said, I'm just starting out with this program. She's in our STEP program, Steps to Everyday Productivity. She said, although I used GTD, that's getting things done, for many years in my engineering career and my domestic engineering when my kids were living here, that all fell away when I retired. I'm busier than ever and incredibly blessed to have a full life. But I found myself drowning in papers, lists, and clutter. This from my rapidly changing lifestyle and interests with no system in place, leading to unnecessary stress and trouble finding time for my new interests. I'm giving myself grace because I needed some time to figure out what my new life looks like. I also recognize up front that things need to be able to evolve and be reevaluated over time. Look at that life architecture. Then she said, here we go. And then she has a photo that shows her before, and it's a desk that has just a whole lot of stuff on it. It has, files and baskets and multiple baskets, some small, some bigger, papers, notebooks, a power drill, like just stuff. You can come see it. And then her after is this beautiful organized desk where she's got, I think it's a scanner on the left, her nice inbox, her computer, her mouse, like just the basics of what she needs. But her system just looks beautiful and organized. So you can come check that out. Way to go, Tammy. I love it. Next one's from an anonymous member who just posted in our group. And I'll post the before and after because it's a similar thing. The before page, it's just a lot of papers, dishes. There's a basketball. There's just lots of drawers. It looks like all very important stuff. It's just a lot. And then the after, you just see clear space. You see just the papers and information that's needed. And there's actually a spot for the chair to fit under the desk. It's so good. But I want to share a little bit about her story, what she wrote. She says, I just started a goal to get to the point I can finally be at ease, at peace with myself, my mind, body, and soul. She said, I grew up never feeling I had a home, just shelter. Over the years, that has been my priority. Give myself a place to say, home sweet home, for my parents and my special needs brother and myself. Okay, just that. It just really touched my heart that she'd never have been able to say home sweet home. But look what she's doing. She's creating it. She says, I am a work in progress. But like it was well said from April and Eric, what is our drive? Can we finally admit or say, I need to go through with this commitment to set myself up for success? From being a professional procrastinator, I'm done with it. I'm giving up that career to create a dream come true. I'm here to finally say, I finished, completed, and can move on to the next step. And then she has all caps. Thank you for this, April and Eric. Your time and commitment on sharing these survival skills were not in vain. God bless. Okay, I actually, as I read that this morning, I forwarded it over to Eric because we were having a conversation today where we felt like there's several areas where we're putting forth a lot of energy, but we don't feel like the people we're trying to help care, or we feel like our efforts aren't really getting us anywhere, or we feel like we're not quite sure where to put our energy and time. And it's kind of a discouraging conversation. Like we're trying to, buoy each other up. We're like, it's fine, we'll get through this. But it was just kind of a hard moment. And anyway, I forwarded this email to him, and I just said, like, this is from a couple years ago, but you've got to read this. And we just need to remember that even our imperfect efforts can do something to uplift somebody else. And I know it's the same for you. Your imperfect efforts, your compassion, your willingness to be human, to be relatable, to nurture, to encourage, to lift, it makes a big difference. And I hope that here at LearnDoBecome, you can find an amazing community to support you along the way. So we're sending lots of love. For those who are brand new, we have a welcome kit at LearnDoBecome.com/welcome. And we've just made an exciting decision. I haven't even announced it yet, but I'll announce it right here. Our STEP coaching program, we have a little membership for STEP coaching. It's now available to anyone, whether you have the STEP program now or not. Now, here's a caveat. The coaching comes with several live events. There are working sessions, and that's what's amazing right now. The personalized coaching, asking questions, if you don't have the program, the coaches aren't going to spell out the whole program to you and drip it in emails. So you will want the program if you have specific questions about building your STEP system. However, what's happened is our community members told us, hey, we love these STEP coaching sessions where it's just working sessions. We come together, we've got the time blocked. We do some that are 60 minutes. We started doing some that are 90 minutes. Where you can come and you report what you're going to do. You work on your next actions. You report back. Everyone's there together. It's this awesome co-working. And Taryn was in one yesterday, and she sent me all these screenshots of everyone's comments saying, I love this. I'm getting so much done. It's amazing. So I thought, hey, if people don't yet have STEP and they're thinking, well, maybe this might change my life, you can join our STEP coaching and come to these live events, come to these working sessions, start cleaning up your house, start going through some of the stuff you already know how to organize. And then when and if you're ready to build a full STEP Command Central, we've got the whole program. And we're going to be going through our momentum process live inside our STEP coaching in October. So I hope you're so excited. You can come to LearnDoBecome.com/coach to learn more about that. Okay, I'm going to close up, but thank you so much for the good that you're doing, and can't wait to see you again at LearnDoBecome.com.